Good afternoon, everyone. Who's excited to be here? Woo! Let me hear louder. Scream. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks for being here with us today. My name is Paso. I'm an organizer with Paso Sunrise, and we are very grateful for y'all being here today. Before we start, I would like us to just take a minute in recognition and honoring that no matter where we are in this land, we are always a native land. This is land that the original people like the Mescalero Apaches, the pueblos, the Tigua pueblos, and throughout decades and centuries of colonization, this land has been treated as less than it should be, not as sacred as it should be. And so no matter where we are, we're always in native land, so we need to be always respectful of that. So we're all here today because we're here and can you all hear me? Sorry, with the noise. Okay. So we're here today in unison to fight against the Newman 6 fracked-gas plant that is being proposed to be built in northeast El Paso. And so what this plant would do if it's built is to further contaminate the air in the El Paso Chaparral area. It would increase the contamination more than 17 times what is the EPA standard. And so this is obviously, would be unlivable conditions. And so this is literally a fight for our safety, for our health, and for life. So we're here today, and we're going to keep on this campaign. So our three main targets, the three main entities that could make this plant a reality are the Texas Public Regulatory Commission, the New Mexico Public Regulatory Commission, and the El Paso City Council. Unfortunately, the Texas Public Regulatory Commission has already approved this plant, so that leaves us with two more targets that we can still stop. Right, so it's up to us, the community, to stop the El Paso Regulatory Commission, the New Mexico Regulatory Commission, and the El Paso City Council for making this plant a reality. So we're going to be hearing speakers. After that, we're going to march to the Chase Bank across the street here, and because most of us already know, Morgan was the bank that bought the Paso Electric Company. Their plan is not just to buy our public utility, just to buy off our electricity and do whatever they want with it, but it's part of their plan to make the Newman fracked-gas plants a reality and to keep on exploiting the permits to contaminate our land, to contaminate our people at the expense of these companies that they just want profit. So after our speakers, we'll march to the JP Morgan, and then after that, we're going to march to the El Paso Electric. Because these are the folks that need to hear from us. They need to hear that we're not just going to stay sitting with our hands crossed and let this happen. Raise your fist and raise your voice if you're going to stand up with us. That's right. Louder! All right, we're going to need those loud voices for our march. So, as we said, we're going to have a group of amazing speakers, people who have been in the community and elected officials and people running for office that have been in the side of our community. So, we're going to start off first with one of our warriors, one of our strongest allies in City Council, Councilwoman Alexandra Nello, who has proven to us that she's not just talk, she's also walk. She's fought alongside with Sunrise to protect the environment, and it is our great pleasure to announce today that we are endorsing Councilwoman Nello for her re-election campaign. Thank you for supporting us, and we're here to support you. Sure. You need that as well?
No, sorry. Sorry, y'all. It's going to run really quickly, so I'm going to stay down here. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Great, thanks you guys so much for being here, and thank you, Sunrise, for doing this. As many of you know, and for those of you who don't, the El Paso Electric sale 8 months ago was thrown on the council and this community at the very last minute. It left no room for even the council to request any amendments to the sale, and when they did, their own city staff, went against them. We as a council had to fight to get 2 public meetings, and you all saw how that went. They were not transparent. What I want to say through this fight is that it's important to remember it doesn't have to come to this. You can have a city government, a public utility commission, and an El Paso Electric company who responds to you before it gets here. This has been in the plan for years. It has come to the council in executive session, meaning we can't talk about it. These conversations with you should have been happening for years. And now here we are, after the PUC has approved it, trying to fight for a better El Paso. So I thank you so much to Sunrise for doing this. I am sorry I have to run off, and I thank you for the endorsement. And not just for me, but for a better city council. For a council that is representative to this community and cares about its well-being and its future. So thank you guys very much.
Alrighty, next up we have another person who is running for office. Someone who has proved that she really is serious about fighting for environmental justice, who has been fighting for environmental justice for years. And so we know that her work, what actions are. And just like Councilmember Nello said, we fight for a better city council, have a better mayor that truly represents the will of the people. So we're here with another of our awesome endorsed candidates, mayoral candidate Chaparral.
Community, which used to be a colonia, made up of primarily poor people, took on El Paso Electric. I was honored to be the attorney as part of Legal Aid. Amy Johnson, a renowned environmental justice.
Yeah. Press the button. Let's see. You can say it again?
Okay, is this better?
Yeah.
A little bit?
Yeah. Closer.
Closer to this? This?
Try.
There was going to be fine. That is the kind of kinship you couldn't expect, because they don't care about you. El Paso Electric will give out billions of dollars in donations to silence the community. They believe that giving to the food banks and giving to these charities is enough. What would be really helpful to us is if they stop polluting our environment. What would be helpful is if they took on the climate change seriously. We don't need outages. We don't need cooling towers for our elderly. What we need is affordable electricity. What we need is access. What we need is for our elders and our low-income families to have to decide between their electric bill and food. That is what we need. And that is why it is so important for us to keep fighting at the federal level, at the state level, at the local level. The Public Utility Commission of Texas has a 6-month scheduling order that's instituted for power companies. They don't want a process. They don't want a trial. They want to ram these things down our throats because it is important for them to start generating profits. We need to push back. As I said, this is not a fight about city council only. It's about the state of Texas and your legislators. It is about the United States. When we took on El Paso Electric, we lost the PUC. We got some really great concessions, but it was not enough. And then we had to take on the EPA permit, and that's where we got some more agreements. Anything that happens, this may happen with or without your consent, but you have to be vigilant because there is so much land in Montana Vista. We knew that they could easily expand and add another terminal. That is more pollution. So I made sure that our agreement had an agreement to not expand. So if they grow in Montana Vista, it's only going to be solar energy. You need to think ahead. They're already thinking 20 years down the road. And we cannot just be reacting. we need to start organizing and fighting back with the legislature, with our local culture, just keep fighting, because they're already thinking ahead to how they're going to continue to manage and control us and pollute us. It was in Montana Vista that I learned that every single time I turn on the lights, I'm also wasting water. El Paso Electric is one of the largest consumers of water in this community. So when they tell you to switch out your swamp cooler for a refrigerated air unit, they don't tell you that all you're doing is switching the water consumption to the company, because your refrigerated units use a lot more electricity. Your bills go up, and the water consumption at the tower goes up. We are out of water. There is no way we can talk about development and growth without talking about solar energy. I thank you so much for being here and for fighting, because this is a giant. But giants can be toppled down. So thank you so much for your support, and keep fighting.
Us to consume vulnerable communities in the global south? Thank you. So, from my work with Earthworks, I have gone out in the field in the Permian Basin in West Texas. This is Pecos, Midland, and Odessa. I've gone with Sharon Wilson, an expert field worker that has spent 10 years looking at this industry and documenting the amount of methane that they are emitting into the atmosphere. And she can tell you that there is no such thing as clean natural gas. That is a lie. There is no such thing as what we see on the back of the Sun Metro bus that says clean natural gas. That is a lie. Let me tell you a story about what fracking means. Just 2 days ago, I was in Pecos, Texas. Sharon and I were looking at fracking sites where they drill holes in the ground using billions and billions of gallons of water to crack open formations, polluting groundwater, causing earthquakes, and emitting methane in the process. But it gets worse than this. These fracking sites are less than 200 feet away from people's homes. Sharon and I met Aurelia and Lisa that opened up to us in Pecos, Texas, and said, in my house, I can feel the ground shaking because they are fracking less than 200 feet from here. This is not clean natural gas. This is violence. From there, the natural gas that's exported and extracted gets shipped into a pipeline that's called the El Paso natural gas pipeline. And where do you think that this fracked gas goes? Right here, right to El Paso Electric, right to Montana Vista natural gas plant, right to Newman fracked gas plant, right to the Rio Grande fracked gas plant. And it gets even worse. In the process of transporting this natural gas, there are what are called blowdowns. Blowdowns are when the industry says they have to put pause on the transportation of natural gas, and so they open up a hatch and they allow billions, hundreds, thousands of gallons of methane to be dumped into our atmosphere. This is a blowdown. This is what they do regularly. From there, it gets shipped to El Paso. It gets shipped to El Paso Electric, and it contaminates our air. The Newman 6 fracked gas plant, if built, would be over 17 times higher emissions than the EPA recommendation. it would make our air unbreathable. And so, El Paso, we are at a crossroads, we are at a nexus of climate justice. We have the opportunity to reject Newman 6, to reject fracking, and to reject the Permian Basin. Oh, and I forgot to mention, what the heck is the Permian Basin? The Permian Basin is the reason we are having a methane crisis. The Permian Basin in West Texas is one of the largest, one of the most productive, one of the most violent regions of natural gas, of fracking in the entire world. In the entire world. And we, every one of us standing here, has an opportunity to reject the climate crisis, to reject the climate apocalypse, and to invest in our communities. That is what we're marching for today, and that is the fire that has to live in our bodies for the next decade. Thank you. Thank you, Miguel. Our next speaker is an awesome activist who has been fighting against environmental racism ever since she was little. As we all know, environmental racism isn't just coming from the Newman 6 project, but things like such as what EPISD has done to the Chamizal community. So next, we're going to hear from one of the activists that has been valiantly fighting against environmental racism in Chamizal with Familias Unidas de Chamizal. We're going to introduce Kathy Villegas.
Hi, my name is Catherine Villegas.
You're good.
How are you guys doing today? Under the circumstances, of course.
Trade you.
Like I said, my name is Catherine Villegas. I'm currently a UTEP student. I'm born and raised here. I walked these streets as a kid before the original Plaza was torn down. I grew up in these streets, like I said, and throughout my whole life, I guess I've basically just experienced what environmental racism was before even knowing the definition to that term. So obviously I'm kind of preaching to the choir here because we all know what's happening and we're conscious of it and we want to do something about it. And the people that we really want to listen are the ones out there, and they probably aren't really paying attention, but one of these things where we have to make them listen. So for all of you guys here, thank you for being here, and thank you for supporting the cause, and thank you to Sunrise for making this happen. And for all of you here, I encourage you to 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning, wake up, take a look over our supposedly beautiful downtown city, and look at all the fog. That's not normal. We know in El Paso we don't get fog. So you look at that, and you realize that you're breathing in all of that air. Not only are you breathing it in, it's all the little kids that live down here in the Chamizal barrio, all the little kids going to school, all the grandparents that take care of them, all the parents going out to work, breathing on all those toxins, all those fumes. And what a lot of you may not know is all of those fumes and all those toxins, they actually have long-term effects on our children here. And we don't see it, you know, because it's inside their bodies, obviously. People like to it's easier for people to take a blind eye to stuff like that. But all of these things, you know, they cause brain damage, heart diseases, you name it. One of the things that I was reading that they cause is learning deficiencies. Here in our neighborhoods, we are judged, our children are judged every single day, going to school, being told that they're worthless literally by students, by teachers, by coaches, by anybody, you know? Anybody that'll just look at you and see that you're brown and you can't really say anything about it because what's gonna happen, you know? But with the learning deficiencies, kids are called dumb, they're pulled back grades, and on top of that we have language barriers. And all of that you see, people don't really do anything about it because they don't understand. You know, we're surrounded by all these fumes and people just want to keep bringing more. And the people that are really going to be affected are the ones here, creating families, houses, living in our houses. And I just really want people to be conscious of that, you know? These are actual little kids that we're talking about, people that are going to grow up to be your neighbors, the future people of this earth. You know, humans like to walk around and they like to think that we're badass because we're at the top of the food chain or whatever. But we are causing mass extinctions with everything that we're doing. All these pollutants, we're affecting other people and ourselves, and we just kind of don't understand that. Well, like I said, I'm kind of preaching to the choir here because a lot of us here understand that. So thank you all for actually standing up and doing something. Because each one of you here, with each one of you here, there's 20 kids behind you. 20 kids from the neighborhood that are growing up and they're playing in the dirt, contaminated areas. They're breathing in these air. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you to Sunrise as well.
Thank you so much, Kathy. How about now? All right. Thank you so much, Kathy. So our next speaker is one of the founders of Sunrise El Paso, one of the OGs of Sunrise El Paso, and a member of the RREAC. Next up, we're going to hear from George Stevens.
Good afternoon, everybody. So, my name is Josh Simmons. I'm a current sitting appointee to REACT, REAC. That's the Regional Renewable Energy Advisory Council. So I was appointed to that. The City Council gets an appointee to this council. Their topic of interest is indeed the environment and the relation that it has with renewable energy and pursuing more sustainable means of energy generation and sustaining the way we live our society as is. But it focuses on a city scale. So everyone wants to know how they can get involved. Okay, so COVID has eliminated some of our default options. I thank everyone for coming out here. Despite everything that's going on, coming out here, we're all very social distancing properly. And we're all amongst friends in the same community. So again, we're all fully aware of the impact that this facility would have on our environment. The next step is action. And more importantly, anything that we've seen about with legislation regarding the Green New Deal is that we really truly have to fight for it. And fighting for it comes by the people's voice. So we are having a meeting this Wednesday, the 23rd at 5:30. Just like all the other committees and boards, they're being live streamed on the city's website. You can go to the city's clerk website, find out the meeting, join in. You can make public comment there. This is the time for the public to make their statements. Whereas the city council and the city council meeting and public comments, they'll shut you down at 3 minutes. We want to hear from the public. This is what this board and this committee exists for, to hear and to be the voice of the people. So as being a citizen of District 5 and being the representative for District 5, I encourage everybody to come out, make comment. We need to make this on the agenda for city council. We need to show that this is important to us, and we need to address this in a way, because this is indeed what we've all seen. The air quality has made it disproportionate and disadvantaged a lot of the communities in our area, and it's only going to become more of an issue by allowing this facility to be built. They had made a proposal late last year on this facility. Due to COVID, they did not continue doing the meetings because they halted those bylaws. So now we're going back into our first meeting since everything kind of went down in March this Wednesday. So please tune in, go online. You can find it through the city's website, and Sunrise El Paso, look for their social media posts. They'll be promoting it as well. So thank you very much. Thank you for coming out here. And it's all speak up as the people. So also too, I have many hats. So I'm also I'm also spending also for a sunrise. So please go to our test. Okay, so go to the Sunrise El Paso website, sunriseelpaso.org. You can also go to the campaign short link for this, bit.ly/Newman6 action, all lowercase. So go to that URL and sign up to volunteer. Sign up so you can be in the know with the update for this campaign, so we can actually combat this, and we can win. This is a people's fight, and we can win this as a people. Can
you hear me? Okay. All right. Thank you, Josh. So just like Josh said, if y'all, as y'all know, as Happy mentioned, we are in some way, just preaching to Angel Gloria.
Hello. Okay. Can you hear me? Hey all. I want to thank you all for being here today. My name is Angel. I'm a coordinator with Sunrise El Paso. I joined Sunrise El Paso in the midst of their JP Morgan El Paso Electric buyout fight. I first heard their testimonies at a Veronica Escobar town hall. Looking back, it seemed like she kind of ignored what they had to say. And that seemed to be the sentiment around City Council, is that they ignored us, and they ignored our pleas, and they ignored what we had to say. They ignored when we asked them to reject the buyout. Oh, sorry. They had my comrades removed from a public community meeting when they spoke out against JP Morgan. So ultimately, what they allowed to happen is they allowed the largest financer of the climate crisis to come in and privatize our electricity. This makes it almost impossible for us to start a transition to clean, renewable energy. In 2013, JP Morgan was fined $410 million for, and I quote, energy market manipulation. What this means is that they were submitting bids to independent system operators in California and the Midwest that falsely appear to be quote-unquote economic. What this allowed JP Morgan to do JP Morgan to do is hype up and charge electricity grid prices up to 80 times more than what they were worth. Now I want to ask you all today, who has $410 million to give away right now? Raise your hand. Raise your hand if you do. Raise your hand. Exactly, that's what I thought. I sure as hell don't have $410 million to give away, but that's chump change to JP Morgan. And that's how they continue to get richer. They profit off these deals, and they profit off of deals like the El Paso Electric buyout, and they profit off of people like you and me. And we cannot trust JP Morgan to run our electric utilities with integrity. What we're facing right now is spiked utility rates. We're facing mass layoffs of El Paso Electric employees, and we're facing bankruptcy that could be detrimental to our city's economy. I'm sure you've heard this before, but I'm going to say it again. El Paso is the 6th sunniest city in the United States. We're only using 3% of our solar energy. That's 3% of our natural resources. So JP Morgan, we're tired of you. And we don't want your fracking, and we don't want your private electricity, and we don't want your corporate corrupt money. And El Paso, I want you to make some noise right now if you want JP Morgan out of here. Thank you.
Thank you, Angel. It's not working. Hello. Oh well. Okay, we're just gonna use our big people voice. So we got our last speaker, another sunriser, Graciela Blandon, and then after that we're gonna move on with our march. So let's give a big shout out to Graciela. Okay. Oh, okay.
Okay, can you guys hear me? Great. Thank you so much. Wow. I want to thank everyone who made this action possible today. We have an incredible team of organizers here at Sunrise, and I'm the last of us to speak, and then we can start making some real noise over at Chase Bank. Woo! Woo! So I want to thank you all for the space to come together, but I also want to remind everyone that we're not meant to be here. Particularly me, I'm actually not meant to be here in class. I'm a university student. I have a lot of homework due. But the thing is that I'm working for a degree that I don't know if it's going to be worth anything in the next 40 years. I think that the world might end before I get to pay off all the debt that I'm going to be in because of this degree. And, you know, youth organizers in the climate movement, we talk a lot about how our future has been taken away from us, and that's true, it has been. But I want to make the point that our youth has been taken away from us too. Because how could I go hang out with my friends or see a movie while the sun is literally red because of the fires raging on the West Coast? When I know that our elders are in cooling centers, you know, glorified refrigerators, during a global respiratory pandemic because our elected officials do not have the courage to do what's right. So you understand how frustrating it is to be a young person and get told by older people, by politicians, oh, it's so amazing what you're doing. You know, it's so great you're politically involved. Keep at it. You're the future of our nation. Well, yeah, thank you so much for the pat on the back, but what are you doing? Woo! What are our elected officials doing? We don't have time to have conversations about culture and love and community because we are out here begging and pleading that we use the sun to power the city. Something that is relatively common sense, you would think. And to Tommy Gonzalez and all of the other leaders leaders, quote unquote, that have tried to silence us. I want them to know you don't have us fooled. We know how to read. We do. How dare you? So, thank you for being here. I come to you with joy for this movement, but also with rage. Rage that I've harbored in me ever since I found out that my beautiful city might be complicit in the destruction of the gift of life that we've been given. And to anyone who is older listening, to anyone who has ever praised a young person, anyone from Sunrise for being active in this movement, I challenge you to help take a little bit of the weight off of our shoulders so that I can go home tonight and finish my homework and hug my little brother, knowing that we and people less privileged than us have a future worth fighting for. Thank you so much.
Let's give a big shout out to all of our speakers. Alrighty. Sorry, y'all. Alright, so next on, we're going to march from here to the Chase Bank. And just like all of our speakers have said, we're not going to stand by and let this environment